Hi, welcome to Jadekind Gaming. My name is Adam, and today I will be unboxing and showing off the Dungeon Master screen Reincarnated. This is the 5th edition Dungeon Master screen that they've now done a second version of. Well, really, they've done several of. They had an original one, which I got. Actually did a unboxing of this one back when it came out. And basically, they've done this, and then they've done a variety that were for specific adventure paths. And from all accounts, I've heard terrible things from most of those. However, this one is another generic one that they did based on feedback that they received from the original. So it's new art, but also new tables inside. I think some of them should be the same tables. The tables people all agreed, yeah, those are good tables. But then other tables have been replaced, that kind of thing. So let's check out what we have here. And I do love that Dungeon Master screen Reincarnated. And of course they do talk a little bit on the back about, that it is a landscape. That's one thing I love. And let's see. There we are. The inside of this revised screen features rules references requested by D&D fans. They actually did one of the polls that they've had, because they've done those so many times. On their website, they actually did one of the polls on what do you want, what did you like. I remember them doing that, and so I actually got a new screen from that. And I'm just white inside of there. So inside the sleeve we get, that really is a beautiful piece of art. Not just the dragon, but even the attention to the background, the little island. It looks like a city that's, aflame from the attack. Let's see if there's detail. Okay. Simple, but elegant with the ampersand on that side. And the other side, okay. The other side finishes up the wing, and then again, simple Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. Let's check out the inside. What do we have? Okay, so we get the little, first off, there is at least some art still inside. From a grand look, it looks like less art than the previous one, but there's still some art in here, so still giving the Game Masters some art to look at. That is nice. Ooh. Okay, cool. Alright, so we have the different shapes and points of origins for the different types of spells. Good. I'm even gonna take it a little closer. So yeah. Shapes, types of spells from the various handbook. We get actions in combat. Which, to a large extent, do you need this? No, because the action's whatever really you want to do, but this helps just as far as the organization of it. Having the different general actions for what to do in combat. Some things are very obvious. Attack, cast a spell, dash, disengage. But other things, less so. Some of the, how dodge works, help. Some of the things that might be nice to have there. So that's nice. Let's see. And things like long jump. Move 10 plus feet and jump a number of feet up to your strength. Okay, long jump, high jump, suffocating. Okay, so those are just rules that you don't use very often, but that it's nice to have on hand and not have to search for them when needed. Nice. Things you can do on your turn. Move up to your speed. Okay, so this pairs with this and is the rest of that. Take one action, so one of these. Communicate with speech gestures or both. And interact with one object or feature. Yep, okay, so the general things for more combat focus. And then we get conditions. Looks to be just like before. The 3 different panels of conditions taking up the same amount of screen. But that was one of the things that I loved on the previous screen because that was very useful. Continuing on past that, setting a DC, small little table, but good just as far as keeping it in your mind. How difficult are certain DC numbers? Tracking DCs. For actually tracking, following someone. Modifiers to set a D for tracking someone. Again, the damage by level and severity. So they had that in the previous table. That was generally for traps, that kind of thing. Oh, here's some more art, some of the little dice figures. Those are object hit points. That's a good thing to put on there. Generally, the idea of setting hit points and AC for stuff. That's a nice thing to have in the DM screen. Just because that's the kind of thing that you can just get away without using and just sort of making it up as you go, but that having it there makes it nicer as long as it's not too difficult to find. Skills and associated abilities. One of the things I've found very useful, just as far as not having to grab a character's sheet in order to figure out, okay, what skills are there again in this version? What am I going to do? Sure, that would be insight check or whatever it is. Just sort of being a list of the skills is I've always found helpful. Travel pace. I've very much used travel pace. So I'm glad they have that back. Just as far as, figuring out, that's one of the main things I've used the current DM screen for. Let's see. Figure out how long it takes players to get somewhere. Services. Okay. That is interesting enough. When I got this screen the other day, one of my friends, my players, actually asked, trying to figure out, what did you use for the current screen? And he knew I used the travel pace, and he's like, do they have prices for, inns and that kind of thing? I was like, no, I don't think so. Or rather, no, but ultimately, with most of the time, I just let them do that. But here's some general service prices. So, for things like, and over here we have foods and in-stay. So food, in-stay, prices covered here, and then services here. So they now have those general prices. Basically what you need to tell the players if you're actually going to worry about their finances when they're doing that kind of stuff in town. In the current game I'm running, the players have more money than it matters for, so I don't worry about it. But if your players aren't just overly wealthy, then little fees like those can add up. So nice to have those prices on hand. Obscured areas, so basically things like if in dim light or darkness, how the player is affected. Encounter distance, so basically when you're going up to an area where two different sides, where your players would fight an encounter, when does that encounter start? How far away from, basically if you were setting it up on a map, how far away would your characters be based on, that kind of area and situation? Are you going to all of a sudden realize you're in the middle of a fight when you're really close? Or are you going to, be far enough away that you can even avoid it before they can get to you? So that's what that table's there for. Cover, of course, useful just as far as having cover handy. If your players try and take cover, that's one of the rules that you just don't use often enough to have it memorized necessarily. And then light, different light sources and how much light they provide, useful. And then technically, this bit of art is also a useful thing. It's giving you a concept for how big different, when you're looking in the monster manual and seeing the size of something, how big is that compared to other players? So again, managing to put some art in there, but make it useful for play. I actually think they did a really good job on improving this. They managed to keep all of the things that I really needed. There was one thing the other DM screen had that I liked, but rarely used. But ultimately, I'll just have it next to me. I mean, it's the kind of thing I can keep it on the table next to me if I ever need it. But it was the name generator. It's the kind of thing I rarely ever used it, but it was cool to have just because if you needed to make up a name, it was a quick way to do it. And make it something very unique. But otherwise, especially as far as more encounter-based, combat-based, that kind of thing. And I mean, ultimately, you get things like the travel and the prices. So it's not just that, but I guess less NPC and situation generation, more actual running the game, which is probably what should be on the DM screen. So I think they did a really good job, and I do enjoy the new art. The new art is more focused on just the center two panels. The outer panels are just sort of there as an aside, but that's fine. A lot of times, like you can see it right here. That's a lot of times how it seems, because these two panels kind of fold over to the side to, you know, conceal some of the books and stuff that gets put inside anyways. So, you know, having the conditions, still having the general DC list, skill lists, travel pace, and then all of a sudden there's all sorts of new stuff that I think I will end up finding a use for. And part of me is saying things, like even having concentration is a rule right there. That is a rule that is important, but I have so much trouble remembering. I just kind of trust, oh, you're playing a spellcaster, you'll remember, right? Yeah, I'll just trust you to remember. And my players are fairly decent at remembering, so it generally works out. But it's just not one I remember. So having it on hand, kind of a good thing. Suffocating, if that's right there, I might think of ways to use it. But also just general things, how to do things in combat. Yeah, you may, it's the kind of thing, you're going to use most of that enough that you're going to remember it, but it's a quick reference, and I think their idea with this one was to try and add some stuff more combat related, was probably a lot of the feedback they got, because the first one was not very geared towards having combat at all. But this does that a lot better. So yeah, got a nice new DM screen. Of course, I'll link down below where you can find it online, or you can pick it up at your friendly local gaming store. Always a good thing to support. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Bye.